When Women Speak and New Jersey Poetry Events presents
When People Speak, Poetry and Conversation with pop-up poetry guests.
So we are live. How's everybody doing there in the Facebook Live world? We got our participants here ready to share for When the People Speak, pop-up poetry. Let your voice be heard. I'm one of your co-hosts, James C. Ellaby, and I have my dynamic duo, Amira.
Hey, everyone out in Facebook Live land. Yes, you have the dynamic duo, superheroes to ourselves, our families, our community, just trying to do that thing. Welcome. I hope everybody has their dinner and has a comfy seat. And I hope you're ready, because we're ready.
This is something that I think that needs to be talked about from a male perspective. And here it goes. It's called Tiffany's Apology. It was the early 90s, the evolution of hip hop, the house parties, the teenage oversexed bodies, grinding on dance floors, waiting for the after party score. Touching girls' booties was in. Generation X's original sin. I was 13 years old when I got the taste knocked out of my mouth. A suitable punishment for a little punk persuaded by even bigger punks to sip out of the chalice of peer pressure. I deserve every pressure to my face for even thinking about placing my teenage hands in a place with no invitation to the party. No part of Tiffany's bodies requested my filthy hands. No part of her dreams asked to be sexually assaulted. Revolting how toxic masculinity can be conceived in most adolescent boys. Society develops sexual aggression on a conveyor belt, watching our innocence melt as we choose to fit in. Not so innocent boys, only to grow up as hyper masculine men. So when does the assault on women end? As soon as all men, let me say that again, as soon as all men learn a woman's worth doesn't begin at her form, but how she was formed. What are her dreams? What are her morals? What principles are principle in her life? What matters most to her, even when most men nowadays don't think most of her? It pains me to realize now that I never thought of her. Tiffany is another woman's daughter. Tiffany is someone's future mother. Tiffany might be a wife in this life. And like many young men and boys, we desecrate that right. Us men have an obligation to make our wrongs right. And women have been waiting far too long, just like they've been waiting until 1920 for the right to vote, just like they had to cope with being raped by massa. Now she hides in shame of rape because our toxic masculinity masks her. Then we use our sexual oppression to self-serve our narcissistic appetite and rationalizing our inhumanity and vanity like we were given the magic keys to her livelihood. It is time that we bring her back. We played with her treasures long enough, like she was some Lego toy, then leave her value on the floor like she belonged there. When she is a centerpiece to be placed in a gold-plated case with a display light to shine like the gold caps on top of the Great Pyramids, all she did was show us how to be great again. Unfortunately, our gratitude is late again. It's obvious we need to bring her back again. It is said a nation cannot rise no higher than its women. So this nation was never great. So how in the hell can America be great again? We have to love women. We have to stop being greedy and give the same pay for the same work to who? Women. I reflect on Tiffany, too young to be introduced to a world that makes too many excuses to abuse young women like her. Too many young women emotionally scarred by our emotionally scarred boys masquerading as gentle men. I pray they repent for their sins before the hellfire rains down on them. Tiffany, you have every right not to accept my apology, but let my words be the beginning of a work that will never end. Tiffany's apology.
Whoa, James, yes, brother, you brought that. You know what? Let me just clap it up for you. This is one of those times where I'm very, very happy to have met you, not only as a poet, but as a friend. Like, we need to bring back the gentlemen who know how to treat gentle women. I think our society has gone so far away from what it takes or what it means to be truly in our natural selves. Just to be a woman and to have a man speak of me in that fashion is just like, I don't know if that happens anymore. I see you wanting to add to this conversation, Cord. What do you have to say about that?
No, I totally agree 100%. I think that poem was awesome. I think men, you know that the leading killer of men, I believe there was a statistic about, I think it's like under 50 was suicide because men keep their emotions, or men also, and I think a lot of it also has to do with like abuse and trying to, like, men have what is it, like the trauma and just, you know, things like that of that nature. And I think we need to be more, show more of a sense of that. I feel like we're kind of like, when we're younger, we're kind of taught to be tough, to man up, and because of that, we can't. That's how are we going to treat women. And I think that's really important. It kind of reflects off of that.
But I think being tough and being a gentleman are two different things, and can be one and the same. Because I think most women, and I am speaking as a woman and from the women's perspective, we do want that strong guy. We do want that strong guy, but we also want that guy that when we're alone and we're sharing our time together, that he also knows how to be soft and how to speak to us like we really matter above all else. So I commend you, in that poem is like fire. And some of the comments were like, go James, say it for the women. So I'm looking at our Facebook comments from the people that are out there watching the show, and you got a lot of bravos on that one. Thank you, James. So
thank you for listening.
Thank you. As another introductory poem for the program tonight, which is, of course, When People Speak, hosted by myself, Amira Shabazz, and James Ellerby, I'm going to do a piece, and this piece is a time piece. It's a satirical piece that deals with Newark, that deals with the quarantine, that deals with just not following rules and following rules. So you got to kind of listen carefully to see when I'm being serious and when I'm actually making fun of whatever is happening out there. So here I go. And the people stayed home, except for, you know, JoJo and them. They rocked it like it was 1999 and not 2019. And COVID hadn't made them game. And COVID hadn't made them game. And people stayed home and read books. No reading, just joint popping, busting corners, cussing, can't miss a party or a video game or a shout out to Ray Ray and them. And the people stayed home and read books and listened, and they rested and they did exercises and they made art and they played and they learned new ways of being, and they stopped and they listened and they listened and they listened more deeply. And I heard it all. Like, how they couldn't wait to get with the block party, why they can't eat out, why they own 20 packages of toilet paper, and why they even once sprayed Clorox thinking it was the new cologne. No nail salon either. Man, I can't get with this. And the people stayed home and they read books and they listened and they rested and they did exercises and they made art and they played and they learned new ways of being. And someone meditated and someone prayed and someone met their shadow and the people began to think differently and the people healed. Healing meant no COVID here, no dying, no ventilator, just finger popping and spits of how it must be 5G. And the people began to think differently. They thought differently. They thought that every restaurant, every corner bodega, every man, woman, and child should be out watching the stars close together, knit close together, coughing and slurring and spitting, germs everywhere. And the people began to think differently and the people healed. And in the absence of people who lived ignorant ways, ignorant, dangerous, meaningless, and heartless ways, the earth also began to heal. Turn on the news. Someone is digesting Clorox. Pass me some. Take down my mask. I'm throwing back my head. Hey, your mama is dead. What? And when the danger ended and the people found themselves, they grieved for the dead and made new choices and dreamed of new visions and created new ways of living and completely healed the earth, just as they too were healed. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so like, you saw the combination of let's be serious and let's talk about what's really happening out there as our people, the people meaning the people of the United States, are in denial. Some of them even saying that we need our rights back, where everything is taken from us, open up America. And I'm looking at it from the perspective of a mother, a teacher, and as a US citizen saying, what the hell are you talking about? People are dying, at least 1,000 in the last couple of days. So what are we really saying? And I'll end it there before you all say this is the Amira show, when actually this is when people speak. And this is a great time for us to introduce our next poet. And this happens to be our feature. And Ambition comes to us from South Jersey. And he's going to take the mic and he's going to tell you a little bit about himself. And then we're going to bring him back later on in the program as well. And let's all snap it up for Ambition. Ambition, are you in the VIP room?
I'm here.
All right, brother, bring yourself forth. What's up?
Well, I know you said you want me to do a little short introductory piece. Before I get started, though, when I first came on the poetry scene, nobody cared about foster kids. It's very important for me to speak about the foster kids that's all across the globe. That's in North Jersey, South Jersey, and every state in America. There's some type of foster kid kinship care. And so my job is to make sure that I give you the stories of those that are unspoken in this poetry world. So I'm just going to give you a little idea of what it's like to have revenge as a kid. Here I am coming from North Philly, and then I'm pushed into a small town called Sicklerville, New Jersey. But I'm very angry because my mom is on drugs. And who sold to my mom? Who is the person who is destroying my community? How do I find them? This is Revenge of the Foster Kid. Woo! This is Revenge of the Foster Kid. Woo! This is Revenge of the Foster Kid. I am not a crackhead. I am the son of a crackhead. How do I find the person that sold to my mom so I can come crack and say, woo? How do I find them? I research his birth, I can find them. So me and my people can act like we need to work and go con them. On the block doing 60, shoom, come down the block doing 60. How could he sell to my mom when she looking frail and she about 60? Now, this is the night of my life that I think I'm going to have to get busy. See, this is the pain of a foster child. So this night, I'm going to get busy. See, he is the master. My mom is the slave. The car is the drug. And this is the way those people get paid, okay? See, the whip is the stress. Overdose is the noose. And rehab is Harriet Tubman trying to help all the slaves loose. Goddamn. So what do? When I find the person that's helping my mom commit suicide, and I know it for certain, this is Revenge of the Foster Kid. This is the poetry version. I do this for all the foster kids, and I know they still hurting. My soul is on fire. It felt like a napalm. I was so crusty, I was so dirty. There was no soap and no Avon. My adoption papers said that I was eating the crayons. My adoption papers said that I was eating the crayons. And that's a little bit of an introduction of what I felt like when I was a kid, and wanted to give you an introduction to being the foster care poet.
That Ambition. We're going to talk more about Ambition, the poet, a little later on in the program. We are just so grateful to have him on our show and all the passion that he brings, standing up, speaking up on when the people speak for those children that are in foster care. I myself haven't been a foster parent, an adoptive parent. I know Mike has been in that situation. Big Mike's in the VIP room, and I'm not sure who else on our lineup, our fabulous lineup tonight, also has had that experience. But there's a lot of people out there in Facebook Live land who are clapping it up. Ambition, thank you. James, what do you have to say, bro?
That's one of the things I like about Ambition, that he's not afraid to speak for a generation that hasn't had the voice. And I commend him for that, because you don't hear that side. You don't hear those stories. And, he's definitely championed that mission. And I commend you. I salute you. And keep doing it, brother. Keep doing it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, Ambition. We'll talk a little later with you in the show.
Oh, man. This next person, I'm happy to say not only is a friend, but is a mentor to me. I study his poetry. He's one of the funniest poets in Jersey, hands down. Forget what you heard. He is the 2005 Nuyorican Slam team. He is the 2008, I believe. 2008. Let me go back to. Let me do this. Let me do this, gentleman.
Very impressive. I remember before I even met Big Mike, I was at a slam poetry event at NJ Pack. I used to be the facilitator for a youth group that performed at NJ Pack. And Mike was on stage, and he didn't even know me then, but I could remember just about everything he said that evening. And when we finally did become good friends, I reminded him of a couple of things that he did that day. He probably doesn't remember. But yeah, wow. I remember that day before we met, knowing him, and also turning on my TV to Deaf Poetry and seeing this big white dude with the the comical but serious poetry. And I loved him from the moment that I saw him. He is awesome. And I shouldn't be saying that in public, but anyway, it's Big Mike's time. Fellow educator, hey there.
Big Mike.
Hey, what's up, Amira and James and everybody else? Mr. Assassin with 3 S's, not 4.
Is that why it's always spelt wrong?
No, you gotta get on you too. If you put an extra S, he doesn't play those games, man. He doesn't play those games. But yeah, it's cool to be on. I'm gonna do this poem James asked me to do. Unlike a lot of people in quarantine who have been writing, I haven't been writing a damn thing. I think we were talking to Cord when he was on his thing. It's like just so draining, everything that's going on. It's just stressful, and the creativity isn't there. But I have been doing reading. I got this pretty awesome book right here.
Look at you!
You know what I'm saying? Breathing through concrete.
I knew I love this dude for a reason. Oh my God. Thank you, Mike.
So the only problem I have with your book, Amira, is that it needs to be in color. Like, yo, look at that picture.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, that needs.
Yeah, I wanted it to be in color. That's book number 2, 3.
No, you should do like a photograph poetry thing.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for the compliment.
I'm still trying to figure out how this ugly cat got in there, though.
He doesn't even know. He didn't even know, but I happen to
I'm not 100% sure that Starsky.
I got to tag him tomorrow, make sure that he sees that you said that about him.
Thank goodness it's in the back of the book, because, when if it was in the beginning, I would have put that shit down and not opened it again. I'm just playing. All right. So this is called, this is the one James had asked me to do. It's called Things I Often Say to Other White People. 1, how you gonna tell black folks to get over slavery talking about it was 400 years ago, but cry when they knock down your stupid ass Civil War participation statues? Every time you wave that Confederate flag, it screams out one thing: loser. 2, troubled equals white thug. Southern pride equals racist. So what do you call a troubled white youth filled with Southern pride? A domestic terrorist. 3, are you telling me immigrants are taking all the jobs? Man, ain't nobody taking your goddamn job. How is it that Mexican has 3 jobs to support his family, but your 25-year-old son can't put down his PS4 controller to get 1? 4, so if you don't see color and race is not an issue, why you get so mad when they paint Jesus black or they make Santa a brother? Why do you start online petitions when they turn your favorite fictional character into a person of color? 5, let me get this straight. Your team wins the championship and your idea of a celebration is flipping over cars, looting local businesses, and burning the city down. But kneeling for the national anthem, completely disrespectful. 6, are you telling me Martin Luther King would be embarrassed by the Black Lives Matter movement? Really? Martin Luther King will be like arm in arm with Colin Kaepernick singing Childish Gambino's This Is America, moonwalking up and down Donald Trump's orange ass until every profiling ass police officer / white supremacist senator is held accountable for their actions. 7, unless you are Sonic the Hedgehog or a goddamn Smurf, blue lives do not matter. There are no blue people here. 8, yes, there is a white entertainment network. It's called the Hallmark Channel. And my mother's watching it right now because it's Christmas in July. And yes, there absolutely is a show called Whitish. I think you call it Friends, or maybe it's Seinfeld. 9, whenever you say, I don't want to sound racist, but, or whisper the word, you sound extra racist with a side of Hellman's smothered in Miracle Whip. 10, liberty and justice for all is an American mirage. So if white guilt means empathetic, then I'm guilty as charged. Because you can wear a hoodie without getting shot in the back. And you can eat Skittles without getting shot in the back. Tell the police that you're armed while your kid sits in the back. Your skin is a privilege. We were born with it. It doesn't make our lives perfect. It doesn't mean we're lazy assholes or bad people. It means we were given a 25-point lead in Game 7 of the NBA Finals before tip-off, and we got the ref in our pocket. So just fucking acknowledge it. It's not personal, but keep your pale-ass point of view to yourself. Mind your goddamn business. Put your cell phone down. Shut the fuck up and just listen. 10B. And if you do get invited to the cookout, leave your macaroni and cheese and potato salad at home. That's it.
I'm gonna. Does that poem keep growing? 10A and 10B. Does that poem keep growing?
All the fire department, man.
I've always had people tell me to take out 10B, and I'm like, nah, this shit is funny, man. If you've ever been to a cookout, like, have you been to black cookouts? They're like, don't, you didn't bring shit, did you? I'm like, no.
Whispering behind your back, don't eat the potato salad. Mike brought it. So Mike,
But, I mean, I wrote that a little while ago, but you know, unfortunately, it's getting worse, and it's so much more relevant.
it is. You know, Mike, I remember when you debuted that poem, we were in Broadway and you were like, I don't know, it was on a crumpled piece of paper then. And you were like, Amira, I got this poem and it's called White People. What do you think? And I was like, yeah, like only you could do that. I remember things I don't think people really even give a second thought to. But I enjoyed it then and I enjoy it tonight and I enjoy it every time I hear you spit it. And it's definitely a timepiece and I appreciate your words.
I appreciate it. I wish there was no need for it, but yeah, unfortunately, it's a lot of shit I actually have to say to people, man. You know, it's disappointing. I mean, Cord could probably speak on it too. When white people are around other white people, they feel like they can say little slick things that they would
Yeah,
never
you gotta
say.
correct them. You gotta take care
They
of
would
them.
never say
Take
in
them out
front
to
of
the
other.
trash, man.
I mean, it's not saying that we're heroes or whatever, but your silence, speaks a
Yeah,
lot if you don't start
yeah,
speaking
definitely.
up against it. And I
Like
just
two things. Like I don't want anybody to think that any ethnicity doesn't have the little slick things to say when other people are not around, because every ethnicity does that. The harm is not, like you say, Mike, not speaking out when we know
Yeah.
that this country definitely has some serious issues and we all need to be fighting against it.
Yeah.
And if we don't all stand up, then it's our turn. Next time it'll be somebody else's turn. Next time it'll be somebody else's turn, and we really need to address it right now. And I appreciate it. I
Yeah,
appreciate
facts. It's like I often sit there and I mean it's a poem that probably has to be written, but I'm like I don't know why white people are so angry at shit. Like I just don't know why. Like we get mad at masks not being able to get a haircut, but the stuff that's important, it just
Yeah.
sweep it right under the rug. And I'm like, yo, that's
Yeah, we need to have a
it's really
conversation.
it's baffling,
We need to have a day where we converse about that. But just so that we can move on in our program, Mike.
Just cut me off. All right, I'm going back to mute.
Wait, James told me. He said when Big Mike gets up, make sure you give him a time limit.
I'm just gonna go back on mute, Amira. Thanks.
Hey,
So much
Mike.
for the open dialogue.
Mike, what's 10B again?
10B is don't go over time on when the people speak.
Love you, Mike. Thank you.
All right, I'll see y'all later.
Thank you. Bye bye.
All right.
From the VIP section, James, who do we have next?
Oh, we got next up. I had it up right here.
They know who they are. I'm just trying to set the platform and make them not nervous. I'm looking at his little cute face smiling back there. Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Cord, I'm very embarrassing, Cord. Just get used to me, okay?
This next poet, I had the pleasure of meeting and attending his event in Asbury Park. And since day one, we just connected. He definitely have opened the doors for me, but I just love his work. He's also an author and just a real good person in this poetry scene in New Jersey. And it's always a pleasure to connect with him. It's always a pleasure to hear his work, and you're going to see what I already know. So help me give a warm welcome to Cord Moreski.
Hi guys, thank you so much, James. Amira, thank you so much for having me. So I'm gonna read just a couple poems for you guys. This first one, so I'm a teacher. I teach middle school. I teach 7th grade, and to say that I'm not anxious going back in September, it kind of bothers me a lot. I've been doing a lot of thinking, and I recently wrote this poem. It's actually the first poem I've written in a while, and it actually got picked up by a magazine called Wine Drunk Sidewalk. It's actually pretty awesome, but it's coming out in a couple of days. So be on the lookout for that. But this one's called Just in Case. After brainstorming my will on old union dues and broken pension statements, I began writing my budget, trying to crunch these numbers for my new life insurance policy. I bought it this morning at 32 for when I go back to teaching this fall, just in case my wife of 7 months loses me for the sake of Wall Street. I just have to put down a little less on my student loan payments and the interest that continues to cripple me from buying a house or starting a family. I just have to put down a little less for my medical care and hope the generic medications I'm given will keep my family's history of heart disease and deflated lungs at bay. I just have to put down a little less for the food in my grocery cart so I can buy school supplies for my students and keep my landlord from shutting off my lights. If I can just crunch these numbers and put down a little less, maybe, just maybe, I'll forget this price I'll ultimately have to pay. Thank you. Alrighty. So I'm gonna read 2 more. So I just finished a chapbook that should be out in a couple of months. It's called News Around Town, and I kind of put it away just for a little while because of everything that was just going on in the world. And this next poem is about just kind of where I'm from. I live in the Asbury Park area, and I love Asbury Park. I grew up, it was my backyard. I had my first kiss there. I saw my first concert, had my first poetry series there. But as time has gone by over the last 15 years, it's become very gentrified. And I was reading a magazine about it, and they were talking about how it's like the new Brooklyn by the Jersey Shore. And it just made me mad because Asbury's always had its own identity. I love Brooklyn. No, don't get me wrong, but it just made me mad because there's always been a scene there. There's always been artists. There's always been locals. And unfortunately, it's just too expensive to live there. And so this poem is about that. This one's called Brooklyn by the Sea. My friend Charlie tells me as we sit on a bench and wait for the last train of the night to arrive that he doesn't even recognize his own city anymore. The house he grew up in on Cookman is a hot yoga studio, and the school he attended as a kid is now a block full of luxury townhomes. Hell, even the landmarks of mom and pop shops he used to haunt are being traded in for trendy art murals and lots for overpriced food trucks. But the developers keep buying and persisting, destroying and rebuilding, so that it's not so easy to hear those Springsteen songs among the constant drilling along the boardwalk anymore. Charlie tells me that his landlord is raising his rent again, and that maybe his luck would be better if he and his family move out of Jersey. Then he gets quiet for a moment as we watch our train pass us by like a fleeting memory, like a lifetime flashing before the inevitable death. So we both decide that all there's left to do now is walk, but have trouble figuring out which direction is home. Thank you. Do I have time for one more, or is that, we're good?
Yeah, Court, do it.
Okay, one more. Okay, so I dedicate this poem to all you guys tonight and everybody out there. So, everything that's going on in the world right now, just how the world's kind of going to hell right now, it's really important to take things that you love and to not put it on the back burner. So like poetry, music, cooking, all this, it's important to keep doing it, to protect it. And when you meet other people that have those same interests, you have a family, you have a community, and that's how we get over this. And so I dedicate this to all of you today. This one's called Someday. Someday, I hope this poem finds you, clocking out of a dead-end job or during a television commercial when you're slouched on the sofa, between sips of burnt coffee at the diner when you're feeling lonely, or after gazing at the stars outside your bedroom window because something keeps you from falling asleep at night, to let you know that it'd be nice for you to finish that manuscript kept hostage in your desk drawer after all these years, to paint that canvas cooped up in your attic collecting time, to take that road trip you swore would save your life, to find that smile that used to appear so naturally before it had to be forced. Wherever you are, whatever it was, someday I hope this poem finds you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Cord. It's been
Thank
my pleasure. Thank you for coming to When People Speak.
Word,
And I'm
word,
happy to have
word.
met you. James.
Amiri, do you see how we're breaking a stereotype? White people are just going overtime and doing
Sorry,
everything.
my bad.
We're just going overtime.
The only
Goddamn
thing,
white privilege.
the only thing you two are missing is coming to the show late. Okay, that CP time, you got to get up on that. Okay, usually like people are late, but oh yeah, you guys need to stick to the time frame. Let me just crack that whip, okay?
Sorry.
No, very nicely. Thank you, Cord. Thank you,
Thank
Mike.
you, Lord.
It was a pleasure.